Hello and welcome back to Square Talking, the Cheshire Freemasons Podcast. I'm Iain, back with you again for another episode, and joined this evening with my other co-hosts. Neil, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you, although I have been troubled terribly by a seagull.
Oh no, what happened?
Well, Keith has witnessed this. Every time I've left my house for the past 2 weeks, this seagull has attacked me. It keeps dive bombing me. It's almost like it's got a personal vendetta against me, to the point where the other night I was sat on the toilet and I heard a tap, tap, tap above me. I looked up and this seagull was looking down through the skylight at me, and it had a very threatening aura.
What, do you not think that you've got a new friend? Maybe he wants to come live with you, and it may be saying, provide me with chips.
Its actions are not in the least bit friendly, I can tell you.
At the end of the last podcast, I did actually drop him off at the end of the road just so I could watch the seagull attack him.
Has he brought his mates, or did he look like a ruffian?
I just think it's because he walks in a funny way or something. Something that's predatory to
Fair
seagulls,
enough.
probably.
Fair enough.
How are you, Iain? Have you been stuck in any exotic locations?
Not too bad. I had a bit of a disastrous day the other day. I got called off airport standby to take an aircraft to Egypt and then position back. So it was like a 17-hour day at work. It was a bit horrendous. However, it did give me a chance to learn a little bit of Royal Arch ritual as a passenger on the way back. So I got 5 hours to myself in the back. But yeah.
So you weren't flying on the way back?
No. I took it out, and then you normally night stop in Egypt, but I wasn't night stopping. So another crew came on to bring it back.
So you didn't get time in Egypt?
No, I didn't want to. It's ridiculously warm. It's like 40 degrees there at the moment. I'll wait till it gets a bit cooler.
We have already pointed out that Iain doesn't get a chance to go sightseeing other than the airport he flies into.
1 week, he might.
We do stay over occasionally, very occasionally, normally in Egypt, but I've managed to avoid it.
What about you, Keith?
Oh, just the usual stuff this week, other than watching you get attacked by seagulls, decorating the downstairs bathroom, getting a new boiler. So
the boiler drama.
Yes, yeah. So it's going to take 3 weeks to get a new one.
3 weeks of no hot water.
Yeah, so
that's what the pong is.
Going around showering in families' houses. So yeah, it's pain.
Excellent. Well, gents, we've got a really excellent treat this evening. We've got with us the Right Worshipful Provincial Grandmaster of Cheshire, David Dyson, who, for those non-Masonic listeners, he is basically the leader of Freemasonry in Cheshire. And he's going to be joining us this evening to talk about his journey into Freemasonry and the province of Cheshire. So, David, good evening.
Good evening.
How are you today?
I'm pretty good, thank you. Pretty good.
How was your recent skydive, at which the Provincial Grandmaster went and did the noble thing of raising some money for charity? I think his target's about £5,000. How's that?
I think we'll have achieved £5,000. Yeah, it seemed like a great idea when somebody mentioned it to me probably last year. And as we're crawling along on our backsides to the end of the open door on the plane, I'm thinking, is this such a good idea after all? But by then it's too late to back out. So off we went.
How would you describe it as a person who normally tries to stay inside of a serviceable aircraft?
The free fall was over all too quickly. And then the parachute descent took forever. And that's the most uncomfortable part of the fall because
hanging by the
straps. Yeah, absolutely. So, but that's a tick in the box of something I've done there.
As you're falling, do you get that kind of feeling in your stomach you get on a roller coaster?
No,
no,
nothing at all.
Wow. Okay.
Just the ground rushing up towards you as you go.
There's just the fingers crossed that the thing above you opens and does its job. Then once that's, that's okay, then it's not so bad after that.
Excellent. Yeah. So could you then tell us a little bit about your journey into Freemasonry, where it all started, and your back history up to today? I think that would be a great start for us.
Okay, well, at the risk, I don't want to bore you, so I'll do it very quickly. I was born just outside of Manchester, but because of my dad's job, lived all over the country. So lived in Lancashire, then moved to Somerset, North Wales, then moved back to Cheshire, went to university in South Wales, then came back to Cheshire. And I joined Freemasonry because I'm a loyalist. My father was a Freemason. But the interesting thing about him becoming a Freemason is that he was general manager of the Stockport Guildhall. So I think I was 16 when we moved there. And so I met at the time there were 30 lodges meeting there, 15, 20 chapters. It was a big, big hall. And we're talking the mid-70s when there were probably 17, 18,000 Freemasons in Cheshire. The place was very busy. So I got to meet a lot of Freemasons long before I ever joined.
So is that what led you to join the craft in the first place?
Yeah, I met a lot of people, got on with them, shared their sense of humour, and shared their values.
So a couple of episodes ago, we were talking about the initiation ceremony. Do you recall your initiation and your first impressions of Freemasonry?
Crystal clear. I was in the large temple at Stockport. You could have heard a pin drop were it not for the fact that the junior deacon leading me around the lodge room had a prosthetic leg below the knee.
Right.
And all I could hear as we were wandering around the lodge room is it squeaking. I'm pleased to say that years and years later, as part of the festival that we were in at the time, he did get a brand new leg, which was perfect. But when the blindfold was taken off and I opened my eyes, there was so much dark blue and gold. It was unbelievable because in my lodge was an assistant provincial Grand Master who on that night was celebrating 50 years in Freemasonry.
Wow.
So the provincial Grand Master of that time, the deputy and 7 assistant provincial Grand Masters were all there. So obviously I hadn't a clue, opened my eyes and saw this and wondered, well, what's all this about? So yes, I can remember it extremely clearly.
So when you joined Freemasonry, what surprised you the most when you joined Freemasonry, but also when you became Provincial Grand Master?
Well, I've been a Freemason now for 44 years, so I don't get surprised much these days.
Right.
I think I've seen most things that happen. I'm still, there are still things that make me smile, still things that are slightly unexpected, but very, very few surprises.
So when you actually joined Freemasonry, then did anything about the ceremony surprise you? The initiation ceremony, not just when you took your blindfold off. Not going into details, obviously, but
I think that what was clear is that a lot of people had put a lot of effort into learning what they had to do. And obviously, I was not aware who the audience was going to be that night, but they probably were and performed remarkably well, considering.
And did it all match up to your expectations and your feelings about joining Freemasonry?
Yeah, I think it did. Without a shadow of a doubt.
And do you remember your first lodge night as the Provincial Grand Master?
I do, but you've got to remember I was an assistant provincial Grand Master, so I've been a leader in the province since 2014. I was the deputy provincial Grand Master in charge for about 4 months, and I went out to some events in that capacity. My first official capacity since I got invested was as Most Excellent Grand Superintendent when I went to Doric Chapter to present the Presidential Award for the festival. My first night out in the craft was a few days later when I went to Prudence cum Merlin, which was a centenary. So there was a bit of pressure because in the centenary you've got to open Provincial Grand Lodge. All eyes are on you. They're not wanting you to make a mistake, but they would smile if you did.
Moving on to talk about the wider issues in the Cheshire province, what do you think has been your biggest responsibility and challenges as you faced the role?
Well, I suppose that's summed up easily in the term the membership challenge. We got given our figures at the end of 2022, which showed as a province that we were losing not huge amounts of numbers, but we were losing numbers. And it's my job to get the troops behind us to make sure that we address that. make sure that it's, the members attract new members and that the members engage the existing members that we have so that they stay committed for life.
When you say you were giving those numbers, did they come from United Grand Lodge? Did they? Or?
They do come from United Grand Lodge, but basically they're in our own system, which is in Adelphi. The two don't necessarily agree exactly, but so I use the numbers that are given me by London because they're the ones that I get measured by.
How do you balance the traditional needs of Freemasonry with also the need to evolve and to keep Freemasonry relevant in the modern world?
Traditions are great and they're absolutely essential, but you've got to ask yourself, why are we doing what we're doing? And if we're only doing it because we've always done it, and that's the only reason, then maybe we need to have a rethink. So there are certain things that for example, we always used to write minutes out longhand and the secretary read them out. These days, because of computers and email, they are done electronically and emailed out to members to check. Some lodges still now wander around with the minutes, trying to carry a wand and trying to carry the minute book and trying to square the lodge. And I ask, is that really necessary? I also think we should turn summonses on the head so that younger guys who can't get there as early as the others, if we put the admin stuff at the front of the summons and do the real business at the end, they're not going to miss the important bits of the meeting. So I definitely think, yes, the traditions, but we can evolve to make it easier for our younger members.
I think that's something that we've talked about, isn't it? The fact that the start time sometimes for the lodge meetings are maybe something that was set out years ago when people's work-life balances were a lot different, and some people in the modern world might struggle to get to a meeting that starts at 6 o'clock.
Yeah, indeed.
So how do you approach connecting with lodges in general and individual brethren? Have you found that to be a challenge at all, or?
No, because I accept that we're all volunteers. We're all doing this because we want to do it. So the best way to get the best out of the people is to talk to them. It's not I'm here and you're there. We're at different levels. It's we are members of this organisation. What can we do to make it better? I'm in a room with 50 or so Masons. I will try and get round the whole room. I'm not saying I'm going to speak to everyone, but I will make an effort to go and talk to the people at the table because I'm interested in their views.
Which we've discussed previously. We said that one of the amazing things about Freemasonry is that when you're sat at the festive board, you can have sat next to you someone that in your life you never would normally come into contact with, and you can have really interesting conversations about their life and what they've done. So I suppose that's the same thing as what you're saying there.
Yeah.
Have you ever had any memorable moments that have really stood out to you when you've been visiting?
Well, the answer to that is lots. Putting me on the spot and saying, well, tell me one now, is probably a bit difficult, but there is always something amusing that happens on the night. There's always something memorable, but
I imagine like as well that when you're doing things like a centenary or somebody that's been in Freemasonry for 50 years and things like that, and they're having their special ceremony, that must be quite special.
I think it is not only just for me, but it is for the members, because when somebody's history is being revealed over 50 years, the fact that they've been in the lodge with him for the best part of that 50 years, but didn't know all those facts, and the wonder on their faces and saying, I didn't know that. And people do hide a light under a bushel, and it only seems to come to the fore at events such as those.
Yeah. And of course, for a lodge itself, it's special for them having the Provincial Grand Master turn up as well. Coming to a lodge, that's quite a special occasion as well for the lodges themselves.
I think that for me, the consecration, I think, was quite a special event, which of St. Hubert Lodge that was fairly recently. I've been in Masonry for probably 15, 16 years, maybe a little bit longer. And I'd never seen a consecration, and they don't happen too often, unfortunately. And a consecration, for those who are not Freemasons, is basically where we form a new lodge, and a new lodge gets born, and we have a special ceremony for the birth of a new lodge. So I thought that was something really special, and it was something I'd never seen before, and that was great. So I've got maybe some ideas. I think we should have a fine dining lodge. I think I'm going to throw that out there, see if I can get some support and drum up some support for a fine dining lodge.
I'm sure you will.
So where would you go to eat at a fine dining lodge?
That is a question. Maybe we could meet in a lodge and then go on special little trips out to Michelin restaurants or things like that, and have
Sonic minibus
Masonic minibus tour to restaurants that are really high quality in the area. I don't know. The dining fee might be a little bit expensive.
Would I be allowed into even my history of gravy?
Well, I know your history. The Bisto kid who spilt a whole jug of Bisto over himself at
Golding hot Bisto.
I'm pretty sure, though, Neil, the type of restaurants that Iain's referring to don't go around with jugs of gravy.
Yeah. Well,
it's probably not that kind of establishment.
Yeah, but anyway, that's my idea. I quite like the idea. But consecrations for me, I'm watching one of them was pretty special. You must have done a couple, maybe. I'm not sure.
That was my first consecration as a Provincial Grand Master. I was involved in one as the Deputy Provincial Grand Master, but the job that you undertake is completely different. So, yeah, I mean, I was glad when we got to the end without incident.
Yeah. I suppose on them you feel the pressure when it's something you're doing for the first time.
Absolutely.
And you've had to practice and things like that. So what is then your vision for moving on to the vision of the future of Cheshire? What would you say that you've got planned, or what would be your thoughts, or where you'd like to get to during your tenure as Provincial Grand Master?
Well, as I've said, this is a volunteering membership organisation. So, but what I'd like it to be is a happy one and a thriving one. One that we're all, very happy and proud to be members of.
Excellent. No, I completely agree. And I think that the initiatives that we've definitely started is starting to bear fruit, especially in my lodge. We're seeing an upwards trajectory, and we've got, I'm obviously the membership officer as well for my lodge, and I've already got 4 or 5 new guys to sort out for next year. Which is just coming in, but we've done the same. We have had 4 or 5 last year as well, so it's getting really busy. But I think that the initiatives that we are running and the initiatives to get new people in is starting to bear fruit, and we're on an upwards drive. So how would you then say that Cheshire is adapting to the next generation of Freemason?
Well, I think as long as we are engaging with our communities on a regular basis, which in Cheshire, well, not just Cheshire, but most of Freemasonry does, we are pretty good at engaging with our communities. We're out there. I mean, we've got the marquees, we've got the summer shows. We're doing that. We've got the trailer, and we had the trailer at the Tercentenary event, and the amount of people that came and spoke to our people in the trailer, and it's by keeping we keep ourselves relevant, by keeping ourselves up to date, by keeping ourselves in the community.
So can you just explain what the trailer is for people who might not know?
We've kitted out a trailer which we can tow around. It opens out. It's got Velcro on the wall, so we can put any kind of poster we want on the back. We had something. We have very recently re-signed the Armed Forces Covenant, so we do a lot with the Armed Forces ex-vets, etc., etc. So anybody who's an ex-vet will see that and come along and say, "Oh, what's that all about?" And it's just, ways of getting people to come and communicate with us, come and talk to us. We've got QR codes on there which they can scan, we'll take them to our website, and they can then see a bit more about what Freemasonry is all about.
And we did mention in a previous episode, didn't we, about the fact that now, some people didn't seem to be aware that you can actually apply to join Freemasonry online. Absolutely. And it's the promotion of that as well, because I've certainly noticed when I've been out and about the Masonic Freemason trailer at events and what have you. And because actually I did man the stand at an event at Cheshire View, and it's the conversations that you have with people are really interesting. And I was also at an event where we had an open day at Clifton Road Masonic Lodge, and that was members of the public coming in and having a look around and seeing what we do. And I think we actually got a couple of people off that as well to join Freemasonry.
No, it's really interesting. So, David, what would be your pitch then to someone who's joining Freemasonry today? What would you say to them as a sales pitch as to why anyone should consider coming to Cheshire?
Well, I think I mentioned the word earlier, our values, the integrity of Freemasons. If you are interested in doing the things that we do, supporting our communities, we are big on service, charity to communities, etc. Particularly in Cheshire, but across the whole of the United Kingdom. UGLE, through the Masonic Charitable Foundation, supports a lot of these organisations. And if you share those values and you want to make friends, and certainly think people have improved things like their speaking skills, the ability to stand up in front of people and recite, all these things, I think, are good for the development of us as people.
No, that's exactly what we want. We want to make people better in themselves, and that's, I think, one of the main drivers of Freemasonry is to better oneself through charitable works, through anything that we do. And this year in Cheshire is a super special year, which you alluded to just before, is our Tercentenary year, which is basically the 300th anniversary of the province of Cheshire. We are the oldest province in the whole of the United Kingdom, and we were founded 300 years ago, and we had a special event on the 7th of June. And we've got some more things coming up. So could you talk to us about the Tercentenary event on the 7th of June and your thoughts on the day and how that went, and then the things to come that we've got planned through the year?
Sure. Well, the Tercentenary started off with the consecration of St. Hubert's Lodge, as you mentioned. We wanted to get that done in the Tercentenary year. We had a big event at Chester Cathedral, and if you'd have told me we'll have 1,100 people sat in the cathedral for the 7th of June, I would not have believed you. But the place was absolutely packed. It was so busy that we were up to the limits of the cathedral allow for health and safety and all the rest of it. We then went across the way to the town hall, had a special meeting in there, and 2 dinners afterwards, both of which were full. Then just a few days later, we went down to London with our newer members, the Master and Masons Forum, put on a double initiation ceremony in Temple 10, and we had 200 Cheshire Masons down there supporting that. What else have we got planned? Well, the Deputy Provincial Grand Master is this year's Prestonian lecturer. He is doing a lecture on our friends in the North, Masonry in the North, and he's next delivering that lecture on, I think it's Saturday the 27th of September, at Helm Hall, and that will be a fitting climax to this year's Tercentenary celebrations.
No, it's something that we are really looking forward to going to watch. I think it's being hosted by Provincial Grand Stewards Lodge,
It is, yes.
Which I'm fortunate enough to be a member of, and the Deputy Grand Master is also coming on to the podcast in the near future, so keep tuned for that episode where I'm sure he'll give us a little bit more of an insight into that lecture, and he can maybe talk to us a little bit about his role there.
So we have a little regular feature on and I'm going to put you a little bit on the spot again now. We have an imaginary time capsule, and we ask everyone who comes onto the show if they could put one item into that imaginary time capsule to be opened up in 100 years that would symbolise Masonry for them now in 2025. What would it be and why?
That is very easy to answer. It would be the Tercentenary Jewel. In 100 years' time, this province will be celebrating 400 years. They can look at the jewel and think back to what happened on those events that I've just described, which saw Cheshire Freemasonry at its best, supporting the province, supporting each other. It was a magical, magical few days.
And that's lovely, the fact that you've picked something that's obviously quite personal to you as well, that you obviously are our master at the time of this Tercentenary. You've led us through this period, made a great success of it, and it's obviously a very personal item to yourself, so it's lovely that you're putting that in there. I'm going to put you on the spot again.
Times now.
Yes, this is the third time. Keeping note. Again, we ask this of everybody. If you had to pick 3 words that sum up Masonry for you, what would they be?
The first word I always use is charity, but that's been superseded by the word service now, but it will be charity. It will be friendship, and it will be integrity.
Why integrity?
Because we only we expect a certain standard of our members, and we expect those standards to be maintained. That doesn't mean we can't have fun, but when we're in the lodge room, things are pretty serious, and when we're downstairs, that's when we can let our hair down, if we've got any. But integrity, I think, is key.
Well, thank you very much. That sums about that lovely. That we've not had that word before, so it's nice to have a new word in the trio that people normally give.
And has that inspired you to come up with your third word, which we are still waiting for?
Let me have a quick think.
Right, so that's a no then. So, just to wrap things up, so yes, we'd just like to ask, what would you like to see on the podcast?
You got the deputy coming on.
Yep.
Somebody from the Royal Arch.
Mm-hmm.
I know that we've had the program master on Zoom Teams meetings, but if you get the pro and the new assistant Grand Master who was who currently is the Grand Director of Ceremonies, who's going to be invested on the 10th of September as the new assistant Grand Master, I'm sure that if you put in a word, you might get him.
That would be awesome. I think we're really keen on learning a little bit more about and talking a little bit more about the Royal Arch on the podcast. I think there's a great opportunity there. And for those non-Masonic listeners, the Royal Arch is a separate sort of degree which you complete after craft Masonry normally, and some call it the completion.
It's the completion of pure ancient Freemasonry.
Yeah, and I was listening to something the other day, and they said that the Royal Arch used to be part of the third degree, and then it sort of got split up. So I found that quite interesting. I'm fairly new to Royal Arch, so I only joined the Royal Arch 2 years ago. So I put it off a little bit till after I went through the chair. But we're excited to learn a little bit more about the Royal Arch, and I think an episode on that would be great. And if we could get some of the more senior, like as you said, the program master or some other the new dep up there, that would be a really excellent thing for the podcast. What's your thoughts, Vince?
Yeah, if you know any numbers you can give us to get them on the show, then
well, Nigel certainly does.
Actually, my Royal Arch chapter is older than the province.
Yes, Zion.
Yeah, Zion. Yeah, so it's very old.
Something that we always say: if you're not doing that right, no, we're older than province.
So, so it's been really enjoyable to chat to you, David. I'd just like to thank you as Right Worshipful Provincial Grand Master for your time and your honesty on this podcast, but also your service to Freemasonry in Cheshire. I'd encourage listeners to this podcast to reflect on leadership in the craft and the different types of leadership which can be shown. Coming up in the next episode, as Iain has mentioned, we've got the Deputy Provincial Grand Master, who's going to be explaining the history of Freemasonry in Cheshire and telling us a bit more about his role. And we'd like to invite feedback and contributions from the listener. So if you're enjoying this podcast, please do let us know. You can contact us at podcast@cheshiremasons.co.uk. We've also got our website, which is www.cheshireFreemasons.org.uk/square talking. And also, talking about the modern world, we are on Instagrams and the socials, and probably the TikTok, as we established in the last episode.
The TikTok, the definitive article.
Yeah. So, nothing left needs to be said other than I'll see you next time.
Thanks a lot. Enjoy.
See you, everyone. Bye.